Yet today, for every investment we make in producing food, we fail to get the best results. Because many women lack the access they need to land, seeds, water, credit, and markets. If we equip women with the right tools, training, and technology, we could see as much as a 30% increase in global food production. This means 150 million more people could have enough to eat each year. Around the world, that change is already underway. In Kenya, women who have access to the same resources as men are seeing a 22% increase in their crop yields. In Bangladesh, mothers who have greater control over their family's funds are spending more on their children's well-being, enabling them to lead healthier and more productive lives. And in Brazil, through programs that target women and strengthen their role in markets, the population in extreme poverty has been cut by half, and malnutrition has been reduced by 73%. If we improve access to opportunities for one woman, we improve our results and grow our economy. Now multiply one woman by hundreds, or thousands, even millions.
And not everything is gonna be the way you think it ought to be. It seems like every time I try to make it right, it all comes down to me. Please say honestly you won't give up on me. I shall be. I shall be. I shall be.
Okay. Gracias. Lights. We try to include some of those videos because they're also on the websites. So if you look for it, at least Madame is so great with his voice. And, if I had not convinced you with everything we said about the statistics of gender and climate change, we have put in the table. As IUCN, we did a review of all the legal mandates that there are. You have that in front of you, which exist that will make you drop something first. That will also make the point, especially with the Ministry of Environments and the legal departments, of why you have to mainstream gender, because most of the countries already have a mandate. So the last 15, 20 years have included a series of instruments and legal rights. So human rights as a starting point is important, where you have the Universal Declaration talking about prohibiting discrimination, the International Convent talking about equality of women and men rights before the law, the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural. And then why are relevant these for climate change? The states have to ensure that any laws and policies, and remember that a lot of countries are right now developing policies related to climate change. And a lot of them are gender blind at all. The whole thing about securing fair and equitable distribution of benefits. Why? Because a lot of the funds, the Climate Investment Fund, the SPCR, the Energy Renewable Funds, even the Green Fund, all are talking about funds, technology, and information, but none of them have gender screening processes included at all. And also the part about women participation. All the human rights are very, very clear on that. CEDAW also is important that you note that most of the countries that have signed the Convention on Climate Change are signatories to CEDAW. But when you talk to them about CEDAW, they have no right what CEDAW is about, especially in the ministries of environment. And the whole thing that are relevant for the climate change parties is the whole issue of ensuring the participation in all the development plans. And again, at the national level, you have, for example, the NAPA, the National Adaptation Plans of Actions. You have the LAPAs, for example, in the case of Nepal. You have the mitigation plans of actions. But unfortunately, women are not participating in that. Training, education, formal and non-formal. We are in the process of revisiting the major funds for climate change. And there is not an equal right to obtain the resources that those processes are being put out. We talked about participation and the opportunity to represent their governments, and we saw, for example, what Bertuzzi was saying, how minimal that is. And that's just the final thought. I'm going to go through this very fast. Of the 195 parties that are present in UNFCCC, only 6 have not signed, and one of those is the US. But the rest have all signed CEDAW, and it's gender equality, ECOSOC 52 session. I'm not going to go through them. You have them all article by article listed in the document I gave you. But there is this whole need of having disaster risk reduction. Also, the EGO framework for action is very strong when it comes to gender. You have the articles and you have the text. And now the Hyogo framework for action is being under revision. The 3 conventions, remember that the 3 conventions came out, the Convention on Biological Diversity came out of Rio with these 2 sisters ones, that Tupamba Drylands and climate change. Oh, back. 13 references on the CBD prior to the COP9 and 68 references at COP10. All the references of the CBD, text by text, again, are in this document. In front of you also, you have copies of the conventions. The conventions have all been, except for climate change, developed gender policy frameworks that you have. Next one. And on red also, they're very specific on that respect. Where are we? UNEP developed the Gender Plan of Action in 2006, and as a major leader in the environmental sector, you can revisit it. The CBD has developed the Gender Plan of Action in 2008, and the Convention to Combat Desertification also has a gender policy framework. The 3 of them were done with the support of our office, the 3 gender plans of action for the 3 documents. And now we're in the process of harmonizing gender between the 3-year Rio conventions, and the heads of all conventions have now decided to collaborate on efforts to harmonize gender across the 3 conventions and the Global Environmental Fund. But at IUCN, we're not happy only with that, and we're going to start an accountability process. And this is this new innovative tool that we're putting out that is called EGI. I wanted to call it the EGI, but I told that I was not allowed to call it like that. It's Environmental Gender Index, and we want to monitor progress towards gender equality. That's something that we would love to do with CC and get your collaboration in this respect. But the idea, Francois, it's the next one. It's to provide quantitative data and information on the government's performance, translating the gender and environment mandates in the 3 Rio Conventions into national policies and programs. So what we're going to do is that we're going to look at all these legal mandates, what the conventions have said they were going to do in relation to gender, and we're going to see how far they have gone into implementing it. For example, all the conventions said that equal representation of women and men should be in their delegations. So we're looking at those numbers and saying, okay, this is what you agreed, this is how much you have. You said that in your roster of expert, you're going to include this, you're going to include that. How much have you done? You said that in all your national reports, in the national biodiversity strategies, in the national action plans to combat climate change, you said you're going to mainstream gender. This is what you said, this is what There's going to be two streams: women participation in decision-making and gender-responsive policies at the national level. And we're also going to be looking at the Ministries of Women Affairs to see how much they're doing also to bring climate change into their scope of work. So it's not about looking at the Ministry of Environment, but also looking at the Ministries of Women Affairs. And the idea is to support the institutions to be more accountable in the context of environmental actions and to guide future decision-making discussions and advocacy at all levels. So that closes the circle of what we're trying to do. We have been supporting the development of policies, now we want to see if they're implemented.
I think when you look at conventions, you should go one step further and you look at the JET. The JET being one of the principal financial mechanisms for the implementation is a good entry point. And I mean, there are different levels where gender can be mainstreamed in a better project document, a better screening instrument and council staff, what have you. So I think there are lots of good entry points for there.
The JET was part of the development of the harmonization process. And we were asked to develop that for the GEF. And we started the discussion of having this consultancy with the gender focal point. But then they decided to invest that money in something else and they dropped the ball, unfortunately. Now what is very interesting is that the World Bank has asked the Gender Office of IUCN to review the climate investment fund. And whatever we come up from that review is going to be very helpful for the GAP, we hope, and also very helpful for the new green fund that is being developed. We were ready, actually I went to Washington to work with them, and when I arrived there I had the news that the money that was assigned to do the gender review of the GAP was assigned to someone else. So we lost that opportunity, but definitely we should be doing that respect. Yes.
Along the same lines, I wanted to group the convention as something that's in another building ocean, green resources, and aquaculture. And there's a huge role of women in aquaculture, and it's a huge source of protein. So is there going to be some oversight of looking at the conventions that deal with high seas, that deal with fisheries, aquaculture?
High seas difficult. Yeah, high seas, we tried. We're trying to get closer to Ramsar at the moment, and to other ones. Yes, but we had to start it. I mean, until 2 years ago, that the reason that now we're about an office and not a unit is because it was the gender unit and it was this unit. One. Now we have a gender office and there are 4. Yeah, gender uno, 101. Yes, we would like to expand, but we're trying to move it, and climate change is right now sucking a lot of people. But we can create alliances. It doesn't have to be IUCN alone. We can create alliances. If some of you are working on those other conventions, let's create alliances, and we can share with you what we have done, the knowledge and the networks, and try to push it. That's the only way that we have done that. So thank you very much. Now we're going to ask you to divide yourselves in 2 groups: adaptation and mitigation. So, and you will swap. So if those of you can go with Jack at this table to talk about mitigation, and those of you can move here a little bit closer, for Francois is going to work on adaptation.
Okay, so it's something different. Oh, okay. Right. So, before we start, who are you and gender issues? It might be that this is very basic. These are praying for maybe the languages or actually gender. So it's too basic to do. Right with us. There will probably be some very novel things in the education side of things in the first two as well. So for those of you that have any exposure to climate change, we talk about adaptation. We're following the model that those of you before. We really talk about understanding the role of climate change in terms of a number of things. First, when you start, everything is about mitigation, especially before 1990. Everything was about greenhouse gas emissions. And people think climate change was that. But then what happened is we started seeing these incredible things happening on the ground in countries that didn't emit anything, as you know. And we realized that today there's a really urgent priority to put the human face to climate change because people are directly affected by climate change. It's the Web of Life story. Last night on the BBC you would have seen that there's new data out about the glaciers at Svalbard, which is Norway is managing under an international treaty. And of course, that is just symptomatic of what's going to happen in Africa, in Southeast Asia, in South America as well. So it's two parts of the same thing, really. And we're discussing adaptation as if it is a second part of mitigation. But really, as we work on the national strategies and as we get around those climate changes, we'll start finding that we're actually also now playing the grey area at the moment, which is neither adaptation nor mitigation, it's both. And that is a really interesting place to use. We're discussing adaptation in this
there have been other problems when they there have been other problems in relation to adaptation. In the case of mitigation is the same. And what is this? What is happening? Mainly because Lorena said it's because the topic of mitigation obviously relates to training problems. They want us to know to go research how to reduce the amount of greenhouse gases. And this was really scientific, they were all about numbers. And another thing is that women usually are seen as vulnerable, not as a group that can be this. And we can also add that, especially in the process related to climate change, the number of women that are involved, they are not really usual. So these are like some conditions that are related to having this information about how to change